So this is the initial document that will be prepared by the county treasury by the 28th of February. Then it must be aligned with the national objectives. Where do the national objectives come? Because a similar document is prepared by the national government. This is the document by a county. The national government prepares the budget policy statement, BPS. I'm just briefly going through this in summary because we did this. The budget policy statement is prepared by the 14th of February, earlier than the other one, for alignment, so that the county treasury can align. So we said the 47 counties are autonomous and independent according to Article 6 and Article 189 of the Constitution, but they work together, the national government, in the spirit of devolution. That's why the counties must align. The county fiscal strategy paper must be aligned with the national objectives. The national objectives are found in the budget policy statement, which is prepared by the national treasury. Then by September, they prepare another document. This document we call County Budget Review and Outlook Paper, CBROP. And we said the County Budget Review and Outlook Paper first will review the previous year's CFSP. Why? Because the previous year's CFSP is the budget for the previous year. So they had set some financial objectives. There was, there were funds appropriated by the county government. Together with that, so they look at the actual fiscal performance. So this one looks at actual fiscal performance. So the actual fiscal performance will be compared to the budget appropriation. How much the county had appropriated. These comparisons will be in the budget review and outlook paper. And for this current year, they will update this document. It will be updated. It had forecast of revenue and expense, but by September, they'll give an update. Update on revenues and expenditure. In this update, probably the county treasury will want to show, are they on track to achieve the objectives they had set in the CFSP? Is everything going as expected? Are there some shocks? In 2020, we had shocks caused by COVID. Is there a deviation from previous year's plans? Is there a deviation from fiscal responsibility principles? And we say fiscal responsibility principles are guidelines, both followed by the national government and the counties for preparing the budget. And we said fiscal responsibility principles guide budget preparations. And I give you examples. One of the principles is in every budget, at least 30% of the budget should be allocated to development expenditure. You allocate that to development expenditure, at least 30%. Borrowing should only be for development and not for recurrent expenditure. Expenditure on salaries and wages must not exceed, according to IMF, should be less than or equals to 30% of the budget. Those are fiscal responsibility principles. So in the BRP, the county treasury will state whether there is any deviation from financial objectives or from these principles, and if there is, why? Give an explanation on why there was deviation, and then what is the time frame within which the deviation can be corrected. Then we looked at county. We looked at county debt management strategy. We looked at the county debt management strategy. So in this, again, prepared by the county treasury. So the county treasury will state a number of details, give a number of details to the county assembly. For example, what is the total stock of debt as at the date of this statement? Stock of debt. How much does the county owe? And we agreed, even counties have a problem of debt. They owe huge amounts, just like the national government. The whole country is in trouble as far as debt is concerned. So what is the total stock of debt must be indicated in this strategy, and other details like what is the risk? What is the risk of holding that amount of debt? What is the plan? What is the plan for managing both current or potential debt? So what is the plan for managing both the current and potential debt in future? Then still here, what is the sustainability? Have we overborrowed? Is the debt sustainable? We've been told by economic advisors of the national government that our country is under receivership. So it means if we have to take them seriously, then the amount the national government has borrowed so far is not sustainable. So the debt management strategy has a sustainability analysis where they give an analysis of the amount of debt borrowed and whether it's sustainable going forward. Is it sustainable? So sustainability analysis. Debt management strategy also gives assumptions. Are there any assumptions made? Do we have any assumptions made in preparing this debt management strategy? And we were discussing and we said probably one of the assumptions that Treasury can make is probably that on the exchange rate. Who knew the exchange rate in January was 123 Kenya shillings for a dollar? Right now it's 157. Who knew? Actually, some people are saying it has hit 150. Who knew that? Those are some assumptions. We don't know what the exchange rate is going to be in December. So for you to prepare debt sustainability analysis for the whole year and in the medium term means the next 3 years or so, you must make some assumptions. So probably, I don't know, I saw once here say that by next year, February, a liter of fuel will cost 260. Super petrol might hit 260. Now, if you want to tell somebody that, then you must state your assumptions. What are you basing that on? So if you want to predict something that will happen many months down the line, then what are your assumptions? You know, what do you have in mind? So that was debt management strategy you talked about, and I think that's where we had reached. Now today, we now look at stages. I think we already put down this already. Stages in county government budget process. 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 So your examiner brings questions on this, and if he asks about stages, then he wants all of them, he'll give you 8 marks, 9 marks for the stages in the county. If he asks you for the same stages for the national government, because we said the same financial processes or the same say financial management carried out by the national government are also done by the county. They are mirrored there. So there are similar stages at the national government. We are going to look at them. So if he asks you for the national government, he usually gives 10 marks. So stages. Stages in county government. In county government, budget process. Stages in county government budget process. So A. So put down A, integrated development planning, integrated development planning, integrated development planning process, integrated development planning process, integrated development planning process, which shall include both integrated development planning process, which shall include both long-term and short-term. Integrated development planning process, which shall include both long-term and short-term planning. Integrated development planning process, which shall include both long-term and short-term planning. Now, at the national level, the National Treasury, the same office is called National Treasury and Planning. They combine both functions at the national level. At the county, planning is for a different department. So they'll be expected to be another department for planning. So there'll be a county executive committee member for planning. So shortly, we are going to look at a county development plan. So in a county development plan, the county will project its plans. Now, integrated plans means there'll be short-term plans and there'll be medium-term plans, 2 to 3 years going forward. What does the county want to deliver to its citizens at the county? You know, what programs do they want to deliver? What are the budgets? It's different from some of things you hear politicians saying. You know, this is a serious commitment. An integrated plan is a serious commitment where you state exactly what programs the county is doing. Okay, do you want to develop youth? Do you want to develop skills in youth? If you want to embark on youth training, you must even give numbers. You say, for example, we provide bursaries to 250 youth or 50 youth, or if it's women empowerment, you say, well, we have women groups within the county. Now, this is the budget. This is the program. We shall facilitate A, B, C, D at a cost of this much. You know, so in the budget process, the integrated plans will simply be extracted from another document prepared by a different department. So Treasury will simply pick the first stage in the budget process from the county development plan. The county development plan is prepared by a different CEC. It's called a CEC for planning. We're going to see, after this, we're going to look at the county development plan, where we're going to see the county will have to put down the exact programs that will be carried out, the budget for each program, even to the point you're supposed to put in the document key indicators, like what will show that we succeeded. That's why you even have to put numbers. Probably by the end of the year, we should have put through school 60 high school students or 30, you know, university students. So those will be the key indicators to judge yourself. So when Treasury prepares its county budget review and output paper, then they would see whether there was deviation from what had been the target. So it's very serious business. So integrated development planning process, which shall include both long and short-term planning. Then B, planning and establishing financial, planning and establishing financial, planning and establishing financial and economic priorities, planning and establishing financial and economic priorities, planning and establishing financial and economic priorities for the county, planning and establishing financial and economic priorities for the county over the medium term. Planning and establishing financial and economic priorities for the county over the medium term. C, making an overall estimate. Making an overall estimate or making an overall estimation, making an overall estimation of the county government's revenues. Making an overall estimation of the county government's revenues and expenditures. Making an overall estimation of the county government's revenues and expenditures. Making an overall estimation of the county government's revenues and expenditures. Then D, adoption of county fiscal strategy paper. Adoption of county fiscal strategy paper. Adoption of county fiscal strategy paper, in brackets CFSE. Adoption of county fiscal strategy paper, in brackets CFSP. Then E, preparing budget estimates for the county government. Preparing budget estimates for the county government. Preparing budget estimates for the county government. And submitting the estimates to the county assembly. Preparing budget estimates for the county government and submitting the estimates to the county assembly and submitting the estimates to the county assembly and submitting the estimates to the county assembly. Then F, approving of the estimates by the county assembly. 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 G, enacting an appropriation law. Enacting an appropriation law. Enacting an appropriation law and any other laws required. Enacting an appropriation law and any other laws required. Enacting an appropriation law and any other laws required. Implement the county government's budget. Enacting an appropriation law and any other laws required. To implement the county government's budget. H, implementing the county government's budget. Implementing the county government's budget. Implementing the county government's budget. And finally, I, accounting for and evaluating the county government's budget. Accounting for and evaluating the county government's budgeted revenues. Accounting for and evaluating the county government's budgeted revenues. Accounting for and evaluating the county government's budgeted revenues and expenditures. Accounting for and evaluating the county government's budgeted revenues and expenditures. So those are the stages. So if the examiner asks you, usually it will not be a twisted question. He'll ask you, can you explain the stages of a county government's budget process? So those will be the stages. Next, we look at the county government's development plan. County governments. Or let's put it different. It's a county government to prepare development plan. County government to prepare a development plan. Like I did mention earlier, there's a department for planning in every county, but at the national level, the same treasury is called National Treasury and Planning. So planning takes place in the same ministry, but at the counties, there's a separate department for planning. There's a separate CEC for planning. So it is a requirement by the Constitution that every county prepare a development plan. So what will be in the development plan? So the development plan, they'll have, of course, they'll have strategic priorities because they cannot have resources probably to manage every kind of activity in any 1 year. 1 year is a short time. So they'll have priorities. So there'll be integrated planning. Integrated means there'll be a mix of both short-term and long-term plans in the medium term. In this plan, the county must debate, and probably they'll be guided by the CEC for planning. They'll have to agree on definite achievements for a particular year. What do they want to develop? Do they want to develop infrastructure? Do they want to develop human capital? Do they want to what exactly do they want to develop? And in this plan, they must give details of what exactly they develop, just like I said earlier, including what has been budgeted for each activity. So if it's a development of say, manpower or human capital within the county, they must state in detail what exactly will happen and what is the budget. Then they must also give key performance indicators. We call them KPIs. What would be the indicator that they have achieved those objectives? So a development plan is not, is a serious commitment by the county on what they want to do for the people, including measurable indicators, which means they will be held to account. So this plan will be evaluated later by the county treasury and see whether whatever had been agreed as measurable indicators indeed have been achieved or not. So it will include strategic priorities, measurable indicators, and the budget allocated. How much the county has allocated to spend on particular programs. So county government to prepare a development plan. So we say every county government, we are writing, every county government is required to prepare. Every county government is required to prepare a development plan. Every county government is required to prepare a development plan in accordance with Article 220. In accordance with Article 220 in accordance with Article 220 of the Constitution. In accordance with Article 220 of the Constitution, they say a development plan shall include. A development plan shall include. A development plan shall include A, strategic priorities for the medium term. Strategic priorities for the medium term. Strategic priorities for the medium term that reflect the county government's priorities. That reflect the county government's priorities. That reflect the county government's priorities and plans. That reflects the county government's priorities and plans. So if you look at different counties, counties have different plans. Actually, I've noted our brothers from Wajir, Garissa, year in, year out, their priority is education. And I think they are fortunate, unlike other counties, that they can, because of fewer numbers, they can really give support. Like last year, one of their representatives said, for them, their people only need to present themselves, and you get a check to cover everything. But that doesn't happen in other places, in Nairobi, in Central, or other places. Why? Because each county has so many people. So the best probably you can get is a check of 2,000. So I don't know how far a check of 2,000 shillings can take you. Some people get 5,000 and they count themselves lucky. But in other counties like in Wajir or Garissa, probably the numbers are fewer and the allocations of funding are big in that direction. They sponsor almost 100%, even students even going to the university. So they are very fortunate. Now, you'll hear about different priorities. So for our brothers, mostly I see them emphasizing education, but you'll find other counties, probably their food security as their priority. If the priority is food security, then you'll see the county engage even in purchasing fertilizer so that they can literally give fertilizer to their constituents, give seeds. So we are saying in the development plan, the county must state what are your strategic priorities? What are your plans? If your strategic priority is food security, then some counties have even rolled out services, or like in my county, I'll not tell you which one, they've repeatedly said they'll provide tractors. I've never seen them in my area. I only see them on social media. A parade of tractors that are supposed to be probably not free, but you can hire them at subsidized costs. So I've never seen them in my local area, even though we pay for the cost of plowing, and it's very, very expensive. I don't know in your place, but in my place, before fuel increased, it was around 4,000. It was around 4,000 shillings an acre. Now that diesel has increased, probably they are going to charge us 4,500. So it's going to be difficult again. Somebody is requesting for a few minutes for prayer. Anasema anahitaji dakika 5, hatuwezi kataa. I don't think there's anybody with the guts to refuse prayer. Grace anasema County Integrated Development Plan is the same thing. CIDP, yeah, ndio hiyo. County, hapa tumehitaji just development plan, but the full name is County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP. It's true. So we give 5 minutes, then we can return. Yes. We should turn this really upon.
Supposed to, because they don't do it. But I think it's. Oh,ไม่ใช่โอ้ Oh, my God. Oh,
That's it.
People I think know them. But people know kind of a certain number, like the very one. Or like when the great like they only have, yeah. Because of the simple and information. Yes, but. Well, it's only people I don't know. That's a really it's so true. You don't have to be on it. Because if you use it there, you use it there. So if the one you so what's where that's
How it's running.
actually nothing. Your brain like you listen to this, you got things the other side. You got the wisdom to know of course, these are the water. This is the way that it's
Okay, so we are looking at county integrated development plan. County government to prepare a development plan, and we did the first part. That in the development plan, the county must state its strategic priorities. Is it food security? Is it development of human capital, of human resource in the county? Is it empowerment of women? So what is their strategic priorities? B, a description of how the county government is responding. We're writing B, a description of how the county government is responding. A description of how the county government is responding to changes. A description of how the county government is responding to changes in the financial, a description of how the county government is responding to changes in the financial and economic environment, to changes in the financial and economic environment. A description of how the county government is responding to changes in the financial and economic environment. Now, this is very, very important. I read that KCB was now struggling to maintain its position because its value, the asset value of KCB had fallen by almost 40%. Those are called financial shocks. The value of their KCB is the biggest bank in this country by assets. Equity is the biggest bank by customers. Right now, financially, Equity still is the leading. I think they are providing the market value as far as shares of Equity is concerned. So Equity still maintains theirs at, I think, something like 140 trillion or something billion. It's billion, not trillion. 140. So the one for KCB had fallen down to be equal to Cooperative Bank. Cooperative Bank has always been number 3. But now the market valuation of KCB has fallen. Probably they need to carry out an investigation and see why. What has suddenly happened to KCB, because their return on asset must be very low, because they're the biggest bank by assets, but then their market capitalization is now the same level as Cooperative Bank. So in the same way, the county in their development plan must be able to state how are the counties responding to shocks in the environment. Shocks in environment will include inflation, slowdown in economic activity. This year, there's a slowdown in the global economic activity. So countries are expected to report lower economic growth this year, because generally there's a slowdown in the global economic activity or the global economic environment. There's an increase in inflation, and inflation will affect many things. I'm talking global, not even just the local rate of inflation and so on. So these are some of the factors Treasury must capture, county treasuries. How would the county cope? Because if you have a plan and there are already shocks, there are changes in the economic environment, you should state how you're going to maneuver. Are you going to cut down on the programs, or how do you cope with that to ensure your plan works? C, programs to be delivered with details. Programs to be delivered with details. Programs to be delivered with details for each program. Programs to be delivered with details for each program. Programs to be delivered with details for each program of, with details for each program of, Roman 1, the strategic priorities to which the program will contribute. The strategic priorities to which the program will contribute. So if the strategic priority, like, was it Machakos County and Kitui, was it Kitui? Some 2 years ago, some 3 years ago, their strategic priority was affordable healthcare for the whole county. So if that is your strategic priority, then some of the activities, and Makwini, where Kibutha was, they all had similar strategic priorities. They wanted their people to have access to healthcare, every home. And I remember, I think for Makwini, was it Makwini or Machakos, they came up with a program that apart from the normal NHIF, they're going to have their own county card. I don't remember how much each family was supposed to pay, but this was supposed to give the medical cap, apart from NHIF. So apart from the small contributions each family was supposed to make, I think the county was supposed to boost that with its own kitty. So that becomes your strategic priority. So if your strategic priority is health, okay, what is the program? So the program could be, we want to roll out a medical scheme for every family at a cost of, say, 200 shillings per family. I can't remember the figure they were paying. Can you remember? Both Makueni, I think, and was it only Makueni, Machakos, and even Kitui had rolled out, even Kisumu had rolled out cards for say accessible or affordable healthcare, and for this card there was some payment to be made. Now this payment are to be subsidized by, so I don't know whether in these counties these programs are still running. You come up with those in around. So if you have a priority, then you must see what are the programs you've selected. If it's affordable healthcare, then you say, okay, we are giving every family an opportunity to own a card that will effectively boost the cover NHIF provides at this cost. Now, this cost will be subsidized by the country to this extent, and the budget will be this amount of money. So strategic priorities to which the program will contribute. 2, the services or goods to be provided. 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 3, Roman 3, measurable indicators. Measurable indicators of performance. Measurable indicators of performance. Measurable indicators of performance where feasible. 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 And Roman 4, the budget allocated to the program. 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 Then D, payments to be made. Payments to be made. Payments to be made on behalf. Payments to be made on behalf of the county government. Payments to be made on behalf of the county government. Payments to be made on behalf of the county government, including details. Payments to be made on behalf of the county government, including details of any grants, including details of any grants, including details of any grants, benefits and subsidies, including any grants, benefits and subsidies that are to be paid, including any grants, benefits, and subsidies that are to be paid. Then E, a description of significant, a description of significant capital developments, a description of significant capital developments. A description of significant capital developments. So if the county is planning to put up a level 5 hospital, quite a number of counties did that. Kisii County put up a hospital. The other time it was Nakuru, putting up a hospital for, what do you call it? Cancer. You see, all cancer patients have been coming to Nairobi, which has been rather involving. for people to travel from all over Kenya. Nakuru was putting up their own ward for, care of cancer patients. So that is significant capital development. Quite a number of counties have put up stadiums, like Kakamega County, Machakos County. There's one being put up, I think, in Meru. I don't know how far. Those are capital development. So in the development plan, if part of the capital development is, revamping of athletic stadium in Eldoret, or putting up a cancer patient's ward in a level, whatever level of hospital, or whatever capital development the county is planning significantly, it will be included in the county development plan. Then F, a detailed description of proposals. A detailed description of proposals. A detailed description of proposals with respect to the development. A detailed description of proposals with respect to the development of physical. A detailed description of proposals with respect to the development of physical. A detailed description of proposals with respect to the development of physical, intellectual, physical, intellectual, human, and other resources of the county. A detailed description of proposals with respect to the development of physical, intellectual, human, and other resources of the county, including measurable indicators. Including measurable indicators. Including measurable indicators. Including measurable indicators where those are feasible. Including measurable indicators where those are feasible. Then finally, G, a summary budget. A summary budget in the format required by regulations. A summary budget in the format required by regulations. A summary budget in the format required by regulations. And there's one last one, H, such other matters as may be required by the Constitution. Such other matters as may be required by the Constitution. Such other matters as may be required by the Constitution or the PFM Act. So do we have any questions on the county integrated development plan? Or anything on the county development plan? Anybody with a question? Anyone? Okay, so all these processes, don't forget, are required in the process of developing the county finance bill. So it is these strategic priorities, it is these budgets of programs, specific details of programs and capital development projects that will be carried out that will transform into numbers, in the finance bill. So all these are requirements, and you can see even the development plan is a stipulation of the Constitution under Article 220. So these are some of the key budget documents you expect in each county's website, by specific dates should have been prepared and put as available documents to public documents, really, but especially to citizens of that country. They should look at the development plan and see, for purposes of public participation, and see if whatever proposals they have given in the hearings have been included in the plans the county has for any particular year. Next, we look at county government's cash flow projections. County government cash flow projections. County government cash flow projections. County government cash flow projections. So again, the county treasury, each of the 47 counties must prepare cash flow projections. Now, why is this cash flow projections important? It's important because normally disbursement of funds or sharing of revenue is not as straightforward as probably you're going to see. We're going to discuss about the process of sharing revenue between the national and county government, and we're also going to discuss about an intergovernmental body. There's a forum that has representatives from all the counties and the national government. It's called the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council. So this forum, chaired by the Deputy President, brings together the counties and the national government. So in this forum, usually there are serious discussions about sharing of revenue, especially where counties are starved of revenue and they've stayed very long, and you hear governors threatening that they are going to shut even operations within counties. So it's not as straightforward that by the first week, what the PFM Act says, by the first week of each month or each quarter, each third month, money is automatically sent to the counties. No, that usually is not the case. So that's the importance of the cash flow projections. So when they look at the main account of the national government, which is called the Consolidated Fund, and they discuss that in the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council in that forum, they might need to reach an agreement how much, for example, should be disbursed to the counties based on their cash flow projections. This is what is available. So based on your projections, what is urgent? Or how should we disburse these amounts? Like, how should we share what is there? And so the process is not as straightforward as we might think. We'll be discussing the process in detail, but sometimes negotiation is required. Now, that negotiation will be based on what counties are projected as their cash flow. Like, what was priority for you? How much did you need urgent? Probably, depending on what is available, it will be agreed, why don't we give counties this amount, then probably give another amount later as funds become available, and so on. So cash flow projections are very important, as you're going to see, and a copy of those projections actually be given to the National Treasury, because the National Treasury is always up to date on what funds are available. And of course, the controller of budget, because the controller of budgets again gives approvals of how much should be withdrawn. And so the National Treasury will be having cash flow projections of all the counties together with, of course, the controller of budget. Now, this will facilitate discussions, especially when resources are scarce. Resources are only scarce, so they'll agree based on these projections, how much is urgent? How much do we send to counties as they wait for subsequent disbursement? So county cash flow projections, so we say not later than the 15th. So these are very important calendar dates. Not later than the 15th June. Not later than the 15th June of each financial year. Not later than the 15th June of each financial year. Not later than the 15th June of each financial year. Every county government. Not later than the 15th June of each financial year. Every county government shall prepare. Every county government shall prepare. Every county government shall prepare an annual cash flow projection. every county government shall prepare an annual cash flow projection. Every county government shall prepare an annual cash flow projection for the county for the next financial year, 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 and submit the cash flow projection. And submit the cash flow projection to the controller of budget. And submit the cash flow projection to the controller of budget. And submit the cash flow projection to the controller of budget with copies. With copies to the intergovernmental, with copies to the intergovernmental, with copies to the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, with copies to the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, you can abbreviate that as IBEC, with copies to the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, IBEC, and the National Treasury and Planning, and the National Treasury and Planning, and the National Treasury and Planning, and the National Treasury and Planning. So we'll be talking about these institutions in detail, like controller of budget. We discussed that under topic, I think 5, oversight role. So controller of budget is playing an oversight role. That's why they must be given a copy of cash flow projections. They must also be given a copy of the budget so that when any county or national government wants to withdraw cash, they'll only approve by confirming that the withdrawal you're making is legal. It's legal, it's procedural, you know, but it's interesting. Earlier this year, I don't know how many of you noticed, the controller of budget was complaining that they have been forced. Did you see that? They have been forced to approve certain withdrawals. Who saw that? Which doesn't make sense. They said the previous government forced them around August, just before elections last year, forced them to withdraw. I can't remember the amount of billions. No, those billions, there was a committee of parliament that was investigating. I don't know how far that investigation went, whether there was a report or not. But the interesting part is every withdrawal must be approved in writing by the controller of budget. And even after approval, they came to claim, after a new government had been elected, that they were forced to approve. And of course, the controller of budget is supposed to be an independent office. So it was rather unfortunate. They would come later in the day and say they were forced to approve withdrawal. I think it was, I don't know whether you remember, because it is a matter that was debated earlier this year. It was a lot in the media. It was to do with shares in this government parastatal in Telkom. And so there's a shareholder, that a major shareholder, foreign shareholder, owning a big percentage, I think almost 15% of the shares in Telkom, wanted to sell. So the government claimed that they saw it, that it is in the interest of the Kenya government to buy that holding. So they didn't allow. There's something called preemptive rights. You know what preemptive rights mean? So the Kenya government exercised their preemptive rights. What that means, if you're a shareholder, a major shareholder, or even a small shareholder in a company like Telkom, and shares are about to be sold, you have a right to be given an opportunity to buy before an outsider is given that. And you have a first
Pre means you are given that chance first before somebody else. So the government of Kenya argues that they felt it is in the public interest that telecom is not owned by an outsider. So the outsider who wanted to sell those shares is called Helios. Ever heard of Helios? Helios owns shares, big shareholding even in Equity Bank. So Helios wanted to sell off their shareholding in Telcom. And the government withdrew, I can't remember the exact billions, from Treasury to buy based on preemptive rights. They said they have a right to buy from Helios before Helios makes the offer to an outsider. So they bought. And the current elected leader said it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, they made a lot of noise. And they started investigating this. I don't know how far it went. And even control of budget, claimed that they were forced to sign. Probably if you Google this, you Google about Telcom, you'll come across the case. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was a big sum of money. It was 20 billion or something that was withdrawn around the time of election. And that was one of the reasons why I think let me not discuss this further. Yeah. So that was cash flow, yeah. Nasema, because of the oversight role of control of budget, wakipewa copy, yeah, cash flow projection in kila county wakae nayo, because they'll be approving withdrawals, and the same copy of cash flow projections will be given to National Treasury and planning. Why? Because National Treasury occupies a very central role in public finance management, because National Treasury will be able to know even how much is available in the consolidated funds at the national government level. So do we have any questions so far? So I think that kind of almost concludes this process and almost concludes our first discussion on topic one. The process involved in preparing the county government finance bill, except just one last thing we will look at, and then we have that done. So the last thing, please put down this: establishment of county budget and economic forum. Establishment of county budget and economic forum. Establishment of county budget and economic forum. So this exercise is taken very, very seriously by counties. Actually, I've seen counties advertise for membership in these forums. What happens? Different bodies are given an opportunity to nominate representatives to a forum in each county. This forum is called County Budget and Economic Forum. Is a very important forum for purposes of consultation. Even ISPAC, which will be your professional body in the next 2 semesters, when you qualify, you'll be joining ISPAC, sends representatives. I think they're allowed to send 2 representatives in this forum. I don't know whether ISPAC is able to send representatives in every county, including forums within the national government, to play a very significant role, because this body is where they discuss all the documents we talked about earlier, like county fiscal strategy paper. So this forum will give its own proposals professionally, and it doesn't just include representatives from accounting field.
from ISPA, even though they play a critical role. You can see this forum is specifically for budgeting and matters, budget and economy. So counties advertise that probably different organizations like professional bodies within the counties, religious groups, groups representing women, youth, those with disability, nominate people so that they can be appointed to the forum by the government. Now, it's not just those who are appointed from bodies and other external groups, including labor union or labor organizations within a county. They'll all be represented in this forum. Then the governor will also appoint some of his CECs, not all of them. Probably can appoint like 5, and then match that number with representative of the different sectors we talked about, the youth, those living with disabilities, religious groups within the counties, professional bodies like ISPAC will send labor organizations and so on. So all these funds nominated will constantly be a forum for discussion. Like they will help counties to come up with strategic priorities, policy goals. They'll help counties, come up with programs. So they'll literally discuss all the documents we talked about earlier, like county fiscal strategy paper, county budget review and outlook paper, county debt. They'll give proposals for the county medium-term debt strategy paper, cash flow projections. That's why it's clearly a budget and economic forum. So you can please put down a few things and say, each county government shall establish a forum. Each county government shall establish a forum each county government shall establish a forum known as the County Budget and Economic Forum. Each county government shall establish a forum known as the County Budget and Economic Forum. Then you say the CBEF, short for County Budget and Economic Forum, the CBEF shall consist of the following. The CBEF shall consist of the following. The CBEF shall consist of the following. A, the governor of the county, 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 who shall also be the chairperson, the governor of the county, who shall also be the chairperson. B, other members of the county executive, other members of the county executive committee, other members of the county executive committee. C, a number of representatives, not being county public officers, a number of representatives not being county public officers, equal to the number of executive committee members, equal to the number of executive committee members, equal to the number of executive committee members appointed by the governor from persons nominated by organizations, from persons nominated by organizations representing professionals, from persons nominated by organizations representing professionals, from persons nominated by organizations representing professionals, business, labor issues, women, persons with disabilities, the elderly, and faith-based groups, at the county level. The elderly and the faith-based groups at the county level. The new paragraph, you say the purpose of the forum is to provide. The purpose of the forum is to provide. The purpose of the forum is to provide. The purpose of the forum is to provide a means for consultation. The purpose of the forum is to provide a means for consultation, by the county government, on the following, A, preparation of county plans, CFSP, or you can write in full, County Fiscal Strategy Paper, CFSP, a County Fiscal Strategy Paper, and CBROP, a County Budget Review and Outlook Paper, and CBROP, a County Budget Review and Outlook Paper, and B, matters relating to budgeting, the economy, the economy and financial management. Matters relating to budgeting, the economy and financial management at the county level. Matters relating to budgeting, the economy and financial management at the county level. So that ends topic 1 with introduction, or what is this subject? What's public finance management? We define that. Then we also explain the scope, how far does it go, the impact of government fundraising and government expenditure, how does it affect or influence economic growth, employment, interest rates, foreign exchange. The government is the major spender. So if it raises money through taxes, obviously people will be affected. Some employers will send people home. Others will find the cost of living going up. So all that is the scope of public finance, even though we are not going into detail in that. We covered all that. We also looked at the legal framework. Like, what is the law? What is the law, the foundational law of public finance? And we looked at, maybe briefly, we said the main legislation or the main law supporting public finance management in Kenya is the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. Then we even went ahead and explained the objectives of the PFM Act. And we saw 4 objectives. And we said the Public Finance Management Act has provisions to ensure effective and efficient management of public finances at both the national and county level. It has provisions for oversight by the National Assembly and the county assemblies. It has provision for government entities, other government entities, and other government bodies, and it also provides for any related purposes. Then we looked at an overview of the PFM Act, and we said the PFM Act was passed by Parliament in 2012, and Parliament had 4 objectives in passing the PFM Act. Who remembers the 4 objectives? What were the objectives of Parliament in passing the PFM Act? Now, those objectives were influenced by the fact that Parliament was keenly aware that devolution can only succeed if there's a good public finance management system. Now, to have a good public finance management system, Parliament had to put in place the Public Finance Management Act of 2012 with 4 objectives. The first objective was to ensure that public finance management system in this country is constitutional. And for that purpose, to ensure it is rooted in the Constitution, Parliament in particular was concerned about Article 6 of the Constitution and Article 189 of the Constitution. Now, these 2 articles provide for independence, provide for autonomy. Like every government, whether it's national or each of the 47 counties, should be able to plan, develop their financial management processes without interference from the national government or from any other of the counties. Now, how did Parliament ensure that happened? First of all, Parliament ensured that all structures at the national government level were duplicated at the county. And we gave examples. We said at the national level, there is a cabinet. And the reason why the cabinet is important in the whole role of public finance management is the cabinet will provide, will do approvals. So Treasury will only bring forecasts of revenues and expenditure. Who will be the first to look at it in the cabinet and propose changes, do reviews, do approvals, and so on. So who will be doing it at the county? There will be a county executive committee, which will do the same thing. Then we said at the national government level, we have Parliament or the National Assembly. What is the role of the National Assembly? Oversight. So the same role will be carried out in each of the counties because there will be county assemblies. Then we said there must be an important office or structure or institution called the National Treasury. Because the National Treasury will play a very key role. It will be involved in many, many things in public finance management. Some we've not discussed as yet. So if you have National Treasury at the national government level, you must also have a county treasury at each of the counties. That was objective number 1. And you said objective number 2 for Parliament was to ensure that The PFM Act is rooted in the Constitution, and in particular under Article 201 or Chapter 12 of the Constitution. Chapter 12 of the Constitution talks about the principles of public finance. So what are the principles of public finance? So those principles must be seen, they must be, there's a big word that used, I'm trying to remember. They must be not activated. There's a big word that used. They must be, okay. So I'll mention the principle when the word comes and use it. Okay, so the word simply means they must be brought alive. So the principles under Article 201 include openness. We talked about accountability, public participation, equitable development, achievement of equitable development in all the country. I mean, the whole country. The word is not anchored. This is a big word we had used to bring the Constitution into life. We said the Constitution is just principles. The PFM Act would bring it into life. So the word is not anchored. I don't know whether somebody will help me remember that word. This is a big word we've used to bring the principles of the Constitution to work. It was not to activate. There's a bigger word. If I remember, I'll tell you. Or if any of you remember, you will remind us as a class. So we said the National Assembly or Parliament in 2012 ensured that the Public Finance Management Act reflected those principles, which you find in the Constitution under Chapter 12 or Article 201. Then the third objective Parliament had was to ensure that the Public Finance Management Act was the main law. So in that case, all the other legislations or acts of Parliament that have been there, taking care of different aspects of public finance were abolished. Or the word we used was, we said they were repealed. So they were all repealed so that we were only left with one law, the Public Finance Management Act, to deal with every aspect of public finance, whether it's an aspect of borrowing, internal borrowing, external borrowing, whether it's an aspect of sharing revenue, any aspect of public finance will be adequately dealt with the Public Finance Management Act. So we listed a number of laws that were repealed in favor of this one law. And then the last objective Parliament had in mind, they wanted to make sure that the PFM Act is the best practice. How did they ensure it is best practice? Through consultation. Consultation with the experts, both outside government, within government, outside the country, and so on, to ensure the provisions they have in this law were what you'd find anywhere in the world, best practice. Then we looked at the process of developing the finance bill at the county, where we looked at all this documentation produced by the county treasurer. The first one was county fiscal strategy paper. Then we looked at county budget review and outlook paper, county debt management strategy, and that we looked at in the previous class. Today, we look at stages in county government budget process, county government development plan or county integrated plan, then county cash flow projections, we looked at today, and finally, we looked at establishment of county budget and economic forums. So that was our topic 1. Now we turn to topic 2. So topic 2, please put down this. Management and control of public finance. Management and control of public finance. Management and control of public finance at the national and county government level, management and control of public finance, management and control of public finance at the national and county government level. Management and control of public finance at the national and county government level. So we'll start by looking at management and control of public finance at the national government level, and then we are going to look at management and control of public finance at the county. At the national level, the national government has delegated that responsibility to the national treasury. So this is where now we are going to look at the responsibilities and about the responsibilities and functions of the national treasury. If you look at the responsibilities and functions, we're going to see how the national treasury does management and control of public finance on behalf of the national government. So then when we go to the county again, we're going to see the establishment of county treasuries. Then we are going to look at the responsibilities and functions of the county treasury. In those responsibilities and functions, it's going to come out clearly how the county treasury and the national treasury carries out management and control of public finance on behalf of the national government and the county government. So we start by looking at the establishment of the national treasury. So as a heading, establishment of the national treasury. Establishment of the national treasury. Establishment of the national treasury. So the national treasury is a key institution in management and control of public finance. It is established under Article 225. It's established by the Constitution, actually. It's a structure of the national government established by the Constitution. It's supposed to be headed by a cabinet secretary, but it also has a principal secretary. We used to call them permanent. I like principal secretary better because permanent will give you a long indication that probably you cannot be moved. Principal means the main. So the accounting officer at the treasury is the principal secretary, though the head is, the political head is there, the one appointed by the president, who is the CS, but the accounting officer, if parliament wishes to know details of anything of financial management within a county, they'll summon the principal secretary. The principal secretary is not an individual, it's an office with many people. He'll go to parliament with a team, but he's the accounting officer in a ministry. That's why the height of COVID, when there was a scandal in the ministry, okay, the CS was called, but parliament made sure they also called the PS and her team. According to Nani that time, I do not remember the name. I don't think she's the PS anymore. So establishment of the national treasury, we shall look at how this important institution is established by the national government, and then we'll look at the responsibilities and functions. Out of the responsibilities and functions, you'll come to realize how important this office is as far as management and control is concerned, because the national government has delegated that function to the treasury. So we say this, there is established under Article 225 of the Constitution. There is established under Article 225 of the Constitution. There is established under Article 225 of the Constitution an entity of the national government. An entity of the national government. An entity of the national government known as the National Treasury. An entity of the national government known as the National Treasury, an entity of the national government known as the National Treasury. Who is the PS of the National Treasury? Nani anamjua? PS, CS. Who is the PS? Well, ni ngumu kujua, but it's just interesting to know. And who is the CS? I'm sure you do. I'm sure everybody knows. Who is the CS of the National Treasury? I was already praising you. I was saying, I'm sure everybody knows. Who is the CS of the National Treasury? I'll not ask the gentleman. Or do I ask you? Who is the CS? Who? Mao? The CS for the National Treasury. You're not sure? They are already telling us online. Wanasema ni Professor Njuguna. No. Kamau Puke should be the governor of the central bank. He used to be the PS of National Treasury in the former government until he was caught up in something with Kimwarel. Lord, now he's back in the central bank. Okay. So the National Treasury shall comprise of the following. 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 A, the Cabinet Secretary, or in brackets CS, the Cabinet Secretary, or in brackets CS, the Cabinet Secretary, or in brackets CS. B, the Principal Secretary, in brackets PS, the Principal Secretary, in brackets PS. And C, the departments or offices, of the National Treasury, the departments or offices of the National Treasury, responsible for economic. The departments or offices of the National Treasury responsible for economic and financial matters. Responsible for economic and financial matters. And finally, you say, the CS shall be the head. The CS shall be the head of the National Treasury. The CS shall be the head of the National Treasury. Then you can put this subheading for the next class. General responsibilities. General responsibilities. General responsibilities of the National Treasury. General responsibilities of the National Treasury. Then we stop there. So on Thursday, we begin from general responsibilities of the National Treasury. So asanteni sana. So please have yourselves a good evening. Tuonane Thursday.